Good morning, everybody, again. Daiho here. I'd like to do a talk this morning on story number 59 in Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, that wonderful collection of 101 Zen stories. Here, oh, crumbly. Look at that. Let's try that. Here. Watch this little cord thing. Relatively new at this. Anyway, this is the book Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. I have it wrapped in cellophane because it's a rather old copy. I got this way back in, I don't know when. Gosh, it was a long time ago. What is the copyright on this book? All rights reserved. And guess what? It doesn't have a copyright date. It's got to be one of the first edition or close to it anyway. See, is there a date on the preface thing? Nope. Anyway, it's an excellent book. Anyway, where was I? Number 59. Okay, where are you, number 59? There you are. It's called Soldiers of Humanity. Once a division of the Japanese army was engaged in a sham battle, and some of the officers found it necessary to make their headquarters in Gasen's temple. Gasen told his cook, quote, "Let the officers have only the same simple fare as we eat," end quote. This made the army men angry, as they were used to very differential treatment. One came up to Gasen and said, who do you think you are? We are soldiers, sacrificing our lives for our country. Why don't you treat us accordingly? Gasen answered sternly, who do you think you are? We are soldiers of humanity, aiming to save all sentient beings, end quote. And that's the story. Now I want to point out a couple of things about this story I think that are important. One, Gasen did not use skillful means, I don't think. He came at the army officers very aggressively. Who do you think you are? Is a statement that I think suggests a level of arrogance that was not necessary. To start the thing off by saying, well, let's just give them the regular stuff just like everybody else eats. Well, that would be nice on one hand. It's an affront on others. It's true, it's an affront, it seems to me. The other thing that bothers me is the use of the word soldiers. We, in our country lately, well, not so lately, but I guess for quite a while, have often used military metaphors. The war on hunger, the war on drugs, the war this, the war that, the war on terror. Maybe that might be appropriate, but the war on hunger, the war on drugs, give me a break. And I think that our police officers have kind of taken that seriously, and they purchase all kinds of military equipment. They look like SWAT officers now, instead of community policing officers. You don't walk up to somebody with Kevlar and AR-15 and a lot of radio gear and helmets and everything else, and ask them, how do you get to the plaza from here? There's something standoffish and militaristic about that image. And I think a lot of police officers have taken that to heart, and they act in a very aggressive way toward people when they stop them. And that aggressiveness, I think, yields just what happened in this story, an aggressive response. We need to quit that, I think. We need to start to talk to one another, care for one another. If you're out there to protect me, then don't scare the hell out of me in doing so. That might not be a good idea or a good way to start, it seems to me. So I think what we have is a situation now in our country that's best described as a application of conflict theory. The idea that conflict is inevitable, that one side rises up against the other, and so you have a thesis and an antithesis and then possibly a synthesis. Well, what is the synthesis of violence? What is the outcome of violence? Just more violence, it seems to me. We give credence to our opponents. If we're on the left and we're demonstrating and we get violent in the process, we're demonstrating that we're not peaceful, that we're not there to bring about peaceful change. We're there to intimidate, we're there to demand, we're there to be aggressive, and so on. And that show of force, it seems to me, gains us nothing but another show of force from the other side. It's really disgusting, actually, and scary, seems to me. We're not soldiers. Buddhists are not soldiers. Well, Buddhist priests, anyway, are not soldiers. They have been in the past, I guess. But we're not soldiers. We're peacemakers. And we should be using the tools of peacemaking. I think to sit quietly with a small sign that says peace and practice mindful presence while we're sitting there might be one way of doing that. We need to model our intention. If our intention is to bring about peace, then we need to model peace, it seems to me, no matter how scary that is. I remember one time I was sitting down at the Federal Building with a small sign that said peace in my robes on a cushion, and the Federal Building officers wanted us to move across the street. And we were on an open sidewalk. I wasn't going to move. I just sat there. I didn't engage the officers at all. I just sat there. They brought out a drug dog and sniffed around me, and actually were talking about what to do with me because I wouldn't move, and I was meditating. So they talked and they talked and they walked around me and walked around me, and then eventually they just left me alone, and I continued to sit there. Sometimes that kind of thing is very effective, I think. It gives viewers, passers-by, an idea of an alternative way of dealing with things. In this case, dealing with it by simply sitting, practicing Zazen on a street. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a good day and a wonderful Labor Day. Be well.